Hello guys, I'm John, I'm the Geeky Fanboy, and welcome back to Doctor Who, Series 12. We had episode 4, the Nikola Tesla episode, and as always, mostly spoiler-free. I'll maybe jump into some spoilers later to talk about some of the things I liked or disliked, but I will give you a warning beforehand, so let's go! I really enjoyed this episode. As some of you might know, I'm a big fan of like those Doctor Who stories that are about famous historical people. So I just love that. It's like a classic thing Doctor Who does, you know, travel into the past and you meet a famous person from that time period. I just love it when Doctor Who does it, like, because I'm someone who is very much into history and I like reading about famous people, and obviously Nikola Tesla is like the inventor of his time. So I was rather excited to finally be able to watch this episode. Which brings me to the main character of this episode, apart from the Doctor and their companions, who is Nikola Tesla. I really enjoyed the guy who played Nikola Tesla. I don't know his name right now, I'm sorry, I will... It's like right here. I really liked him. I enjoyed his performance. In general, Nikola Tesla was a quite interesting character in this. I must admit, I don't really know that much about him as a person or what he did. I'm like, okay, yeah, Tesla coil and technology and stuff like that, electricity, I know that, but I didn't know how many things he actually came up with or what kinds of ideas he had. Like, minor spoiler, it's not really a spoiler, but like Ryan has this moment where he's listening to Tesla and he's like, is he just explaining what Wi-Fi is? Did he invent Wi-Fi? And I'm like, did he do that? Like, I have no idea about that sort of stuff. So it was rather cool to find out what Tesla was involved with, what he was actually doing, how many things he actually came up with. Obviously, I don't know how close this portrayal of Tesla is to the actual guy, like what he was like or what we know about him. I don't know, but I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed watching the actor portraying him, and I mean, sure, they leaned a bit into this cliche of like the tortured genius, the tortured artist, like, you know, Tesla's sort of like, no one gets me, I know I'm a great guy, or other people from the future know, I mean, he's a great guy, but the people during his time don't know that yet, and he never got acknowledged for what he did. So they do lean a bit into that sort of thing, but not too much, I think. Also because Tesla isn't necessarily portrayed as being too tortured. Sure, he's a bit upset that no one seems to grasp his ideas, but you know, he's still very much excited about them and very much enthusiastic about the work he does, and at the end you don't have the feeling that this is now sort of a moral tale or something. It really isn't, and I enjoyed watching him. I enjoyed watching him, especially when he was interacting with the Doctor. I really like that they sort of play up this parallel that both of them are quite like very much geniuses who at times have trouble interacting with the people around them because no one gets them, because they have those brilliant ideas and those brilliant thoughts, but no one can really understand what they're going at. And I like that they sort of are able to bond over this, are able to bond over both of them being inventors, and I love watching them just you know, bouncing off each other with their techno babble and being rather excited about all those technology things. Especially like the Doctor obviously gets very excited about being able to meet Nikola Tesla, and I like it when even the Doctor sort of gets like giggly and excited about like when they get to be the fan of someone they meet. And this is why I also usually like those kinds of episodes, because you can just see the Doctor also like geeking out over history, like some of the viewers might do as well. So yeah, I like Tesla, his portrayal, also like the Doctor, like I just said. I especially like her interactions with Tesla in this episode, but just in general, I like how the Doctor is acting in this episode. She's very much in command, and you know, it's very much just classic Doctor Who stuff, and the Doctor is just being the Doctor, you know, having cool moments with ideas and inventions, technobabble, interacting with history people, you know, it feels very, very classic. And I like how much in charge she was in this episode, how much she actually got to do this time around. and also her interactions with the villain I thought were quite good, because again you felt like she was in charge. You felt like that she knew what she was doing, and in general I like how she's like sort of keeping herself in. How Jodie Whittaker is keeping us when her doctor has to interact with like the villains, who I'm going to talk about in a second. Like, I never get the feeling that she's at a loss. I always feel like she's very much in charge. She knows what's going on, but at the same time she's still very, very much easygoing, which you can see in this episode. Again, like, she has this easygoing sort of nature, but at times when she does try to be intimidating, it really stands out, because you don't really get that with Jodie Whittaker's doctor. And there are like 1 or 2 moments in this episode where she tries to be, and is very much intimidating, and those sort of moments like set you back for a second, because you're like, oh, okay, so she's really serious in that moment, and I like how that worked in this episode. Before we move on to the villains in this episode, the companions don't get to do like any special sort of things in this episode, but you know, they do the classic companion job. I like what they were doing. Again, Graham and Ryan are sort of like a bit more like the comedic relief. I'm slowly starting to notice that they're not giving them so much to do this series, especially not Graham. Like, Graham, at least up till now in this series, is sort of like the comic relief, which I don't have necessarily a problem with yet, because I like Graham a lot, and the actor is very good at doing this sort of humour, and, you know, especially his chemistry with Ryan is very entertaining to watch. But what they tried to do in this episode, at least what I was assuming, was that Yaz at least gets a bit more to do, because I have complained before that Yaz still gets very much sidelined a lot, which is sad, because she could be such an interesting and fascinating character, and I do like the actress. She's doing a very good job, and I like that Yaz gets sort of paired with Tesla a lot as well in this episode, so that she's also in focus together with him. Like, she sort of acts as the one companion who asks the historical person of the week questions, so we are able to find out more about him, and they are able to sort of bond on this like normal level, because the doctor obviously is on a different level. So I like that Yaz sort of got this focus. Also, she's the one who's bonding with Edison, who's also in this episode. Like, he isn't a focus character, but I like the idea that he's in this. And again, here Yaz is sort of the person who he also gets sort of paired with for a while. So I like that while Yaz didn't really get like special focus, I like that they utilized her a bit more in this episode. I would like to see that more often. And the villains of this episode do look familiar. I mean, it's not really that much of a spoiler, but you know, we already saw this in the trailers, that we have those aliens that we know from that one Doctor Who's Christmas special, when Donna first appeared, when we had this Ragnar's queen. So yeah, we have this sort of alien species back, but they give it a bit of a twist. Like, it's not the exact same species. The design is slightly different. And yeah, the whole species seems to be, you know, it seems to be like a sort of family thing, where it might be a species that is related to the one we saw in the Christmas special, but you know, they sort of do their own thing. I like the design because, again, it was similar to what we've seen before, but a bit different. I like the original design anyway, so I was fine with what they kept from that. I especially like the way they filmed the aliens. It was very much similar to what they did in the Christmas special, which was very effective, and again they used very well here, where it was really sort of menacing and in your face, where you really felt a bit itchy, really no, go away. Yeah, like good camera use there. The actress, I thought, did a good job with the villain, very intimidating. It worked very well in this sort of classic Doctor Who sense. You're like, okay, I got a villain. I know that no one's probably gonna like die or anything, but you know, this villain is threatening enough, and it sort of helps that it's an alien species we sort of kind of recognize, but they give it a bit of a twist, which is cool. And I like that they don't just keep them, it's not really a spoiler, they don't just keep them up there in like their spacesuit, like they actually get to do some stuff. I like the idea with like the scorpion thingies, they look kind of cool. because I was like, oh, they look like spiders. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that. So in that regard, worked very well. It intimidated me. Okay, and to finish off, I'm gonna jump into just a few spoilers to talk about some highlights I rather enjoyed. Here's a timestamp if you want to jump to the conclusion. Okay, so there aren't really that many, like, spoilerish things that I need talking about. Like, I already mentioned, Edison is in this episode, which isn't really that big of a spoiler. I mean, it was sort of a surprise, but, you know, I'm kind of okay with the fact that they didn't really use him that much, or they portrayed him a bit differently, because at least I didn't know that there was this sort of, I mean, I was a bit aware that there was a thing going on between Tesla and Edison, but I like that they picked how much of a rivalry that actually is, and what Edison, because everyone is always like, oh, Edison's this great inventor, and he did this and this and this, but that they sort of, you know, that you get to sort of peek behind the curtain and actually see what Edison did or did not do. So I like that. I was surprised that he actually got to stay in the episode up until the end, because I thought, okay, they were gonna visit him for this one scene. It's the sort of cool cameo of Edison, and then he's gonna disappear. But no, I like that they kept him in this episode. Also because he sort of juxtaposes Tesla also in that regard, that he's like a bit more stereotypically American, also with his guns and everything. But I'm happy about the fact that they didn't really play this whole American, not American thing up too much. You basically only have one mention of it with the protesters, which is understandable, because someone would have probably said that you know, Tesla is not American, because he was from, where was he from, Serbia or something like that? I'm sorry, I don't know that. And I like that it didn't lead into this. Like, they only have this one moment of Tesla having to be like, I am an American citizen, so you guys can just bugger off, basically. They only had this at one time. It was good. I like that they didn't, like, had to emphasize any big things, like, in your face, not like last time, you know, I complained about that. Doesn't really happen in this. You only have, like, the standard shtick at the end that the Doctor does, where she has to be like, oh, yeah, you know, he was maybe misunderstood, but he's gonna be a great guy, and he's gonna have all those great ideas, and yes, maybe he dies penniless, but we won't forget him, you know. It's the usual shtick we get with those kinds of episodes, so that was fine. Also, this whole climax of the episode I thought was really, really cool, like, because the Doctor and Tesla get to, like, do their inventor thing, and they get to work together and use the TARDIS's shield, and I like that the Queen actually comes down. Like, I like that she doesn't just stay in the spaceship. Like, we actually do get to see her, like, on Earth and interacting with everyone and moving around, because I did rather enjoy the sort of mixed design of, like, the Ragnos but in humanoid scorpion sort of version. That was kind of cool, because that way you could have the Queen actually move around, because you wouldn't be able to do that with, like, the Ragnos Queen we got in the special. So yeah, the finale was really cool when everyone got to interact with the other, and I liked, of course, how the Doctor sort of tricked her. Like, I knew what she was going for, but it was cool, and all worked out in the end, and it was really cool. It's just a minor detail, but I really loved the shot towards the end when they have defeated the aliens, and you can see Tesla in the TARDIS, and it just cuts to a wide shot of him standing in front of the TARDIS console, and the blue light coming in from the back, and that looked so gorgeous. I mean, I love the TARDIS design of the 12th Doctor anyway, but that was just such a beautiful shot, and you could just see how beautiful this TARDIS actually is. And in general, cinematography, as always, great, but that was just like this one shot. I was like, oh, this looks absolutely gorgeous. Okay, to conclude my review, I really enjoyed this episode. I definitely liked it a lot more than last week. It's a classic historical Doctor Who episode. Doctor meets famous history person. I'm a huge fan of this concept, so I absolutely love this episode. It's a fun classic Doctor Who adventure with a famous person. I like the actor who portrayed Tesla. I especially like Tesla in combination with the Doctor, because they kind of get to bounce off each other in that regard. So yeah, this was just a fun history adventure, very classic, like nothing too woo special, but you know, all in good fun. Okay, so that's it for my review. What did you think of this episode? Put your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done it already. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.